Good afternoon, everyone. Today we shall discuss about growth of population in India. Now I shall present my screen. Growth of population in India. Remember, we have been learning about the first chapter: population, distribution, density, growth, and composition of India's population. So today we have growth of population in India. Meaning of growth of population we have discussed earlier. It is also given here. The growth of population is the change in the number of people living in a particular area between 2 points of time. So growth refers to change in the number of people living in a particular area. Okay, so here the change may be positive or negative. If there is increase in number, we call it positive growth. If there is decrease in number, that is called negative growth. And its rate is expressed in percentage. The growth rate is expressed in percentage. And in case of India, population growth has two components, namely natural and induced. Okay, growth of population in India has two components, natural and induced. While the natural growth is analyzed by assessing the growth, birth, and the death rates, the induced components are explained by the volume of inward and outward movement of people in any given area. Okay, so we have two components, natural and induced. Natural growth is calculated, by finding out the differences between the birth rate and the death rate. That means natural growth is equal to crude birth minus crude death. Okay, and about the induced component, it is explained by the differences between the incoming migration and the outgoing migration. Okay. However, in the present chapter, we shall discuss only the natural growth of India's population. Okay. And we have also already discussed about the about the formula, of the actual growth of population in the textbook Fundamentals of Human Geography. The decadal and the annual growth rates of population in India are both very high and steadily increasing over time. So this is about trends of population growth in India. Okay, the decadal and annual growth rates of population in India are both very high and steadily increasing over time. Decade, it equals to 10 years. Both the decadal and the annual growth rate of India, India's population, are both very high and steadily increasing. The annual growth rate of India's population is 1.64% according to 2011 census. So this is the present trend. And meaning of doubling time of population, we also have already discussed in the previous lessons. So population doubling time is the time taken by any population to double itself at the current annual growth rate. Say population of a country is 1 million in 1991. Then in 2001, if the population of that country becomes 2 million, that means the population is double. That means within 10 years, the population of that particular country becomes double. So this 10 years is the population doubling time. As we discussed earlier. The growth rate of population in India over the last 1 century has been caused by annual birth rate and the death rate and the rate of migration, and thereby shows the different trends. And accordingly, we find 4 distinct phases of growth identified within this period. Okay, so the growth rate of population in India over the last 1 century, over the last 100 years, has been caused by the annual birth and annual death rate, as well as by the rate of migration. So before we discuss those 4 phases of population growth in India, first let us examine this table number 1.1, decadal growth rates in India 1901 to 2011. Okay, so here we have the census year. Okay, here census year, then population is given here, then growth rate, absolute number, then this is the rate expressing in percentage. So when we examine this table, we find that the decades 1911 to 1921 recorded a negative growth, as you will find here. See, the population of India in 1911 was 252 million, then 93,390. And in the year 1921, okay, it was 251,321,213. Okay, so we have a decrease of 7,72,117 okay, in number. So the growth rate is minus 0.31. So this decade recorded a negative growth, and the remaining decades we have positive growth. Okay, between 1921 to 1931 the growth rate is 11.60, and here this decade, okay, 1971, see here 1971 recorded the highest rate, see here 24.80, followed by 1981 24.66. Then after that it is decreasing. Okay, then 23.85, 21.54, and between 2001 and 2011 the growth rate is, the decadal growth rate is 17.64%. Okay, so the formula for calculation of the growth rate is given here. Okay, growth rate or the decadal growth rate, Z is equal to P2 minus P1 divided by P1 multiplied by 100. Okay, so let us let us calculate. Okay, let us have an example. So here the formula is here. Okay, the formula is here. Growth rate is equal to P2 minus P1 divided by P1 multiplied by 100, where P1 stands for population of the base year, that is previous year, and P2 stands for population of the present year, that is population of the current year. So for India, okay, just see here in this table, for India, okay, population of 1911 is here, okay, 252,093,390. So this is what we call P1, that is population of the base year, previous year. Then for the year 1921 the population is 3,21,213. This is for the 1921, and so it represents P2. Okay, P2 means population of the present year or population of the current year. So applying the formula, say Z is equal to P2 minus P1. Okay, so this is P2 minus P1 divided by P1 multiplied by 100. So if you subtract, okay, this P1 from P2, we get minus 7,72,177 divided by this P1, okay, and multiplied by 100. So we have got minus 0.307. So after taking the round number, the growth rate is minus 0.31, as you will find here. Okay, as you find here, minus 0.31. So are you clear? Any question? Are you clear? Any question? Okay, that is how the growth rate is calculated. Okay, so you have to remember this formula, and we have given one example also. Okay, and now let us analyze the phases of population growth in India. Okay, so we have 4 phases. Here we have 4 phases. Phase 1 is here. Okay, let us read. The period from 1901 to 1921 is referred to as a period of stagnant or stationary phase of growth of India's population. Since this period, okay, in this period the growth rate was very low, even recording a negative growth rate during 1911 to 1921. Okay, just we have calculated. Okay, so the period from 1901 to 1921 is referred to as the period of stagnant or stationary phase of growth. Since in this period the growth rate was very low, even recording negative growth, that is minus this 0.31, okay, during 1911 to 1921. So why it is so? Because both the birth rate and the death rate were high, keeping the rate of increase low. So during this period, both the birth rate and the death rate were very high, keeping the rates of increase low. Okay. See, poor health and medical services, illiteracy of people at large, and inefficient distribution system of food and other basic necessities were largely responsible for a high birth and high death rate in this period. So this phase 1 can be compared with the stage 1 of the demographic transition theory. See here in the textbook. Okay, so in our textbook, Fundamentals of Human Geography, we discuss about 3-stage model of demographic transition theory, and so this is the diagram. Okay, and this phase 1 of population growth of India can be compared with the stage 1. Okay, with the stage 1 of a demographic transition model. See here we have the stage 1. Okay, so in the stage 1, here both the birth rate and the death rate are high. As we discussed earlier, so here this line graph indicates birth rate, and this graph indicates death rate. So in stage 1, both the birth rate and the death rate remain high. Okay, so here, as mentioned here, both the birth rate and the death rate were high, keeping the rate to increase low. So the high birth rate is compensated, cancelled by the high death rate. So why there was a high death rate? There was high death rate due to poor health and medical services. Why there was high birth rate? Because there was illiteracy of people, and there was poor this public distribution system, and that is why the society was agrarian and illiterate society. and that is why we can compare the phase 1 of population growth in India, okay, with the stage 1 of the demographic transition theory model. Okay, so next we have phase 2. Okay, phase 2, the decades 1921 and 1951 are referred to as the period of steady population growth. The decades 1921 to 1951 are referred to as the period of steady population growth. And overall improvement in the health and the sanitation throughout the country, okay, brought down the mortality rate. So during these decades, the death rate declined considerably due to an overall improvement in the health and the sanitation throughout the country. Okay. At the same time, better transport and communication system improved the distribution system, public distribution system. The crude birth rate remained high in this period, leading to higher growth rate than the previous phase. And this is impressive at the backdrop of the Great Economic Depressions in 1920s and World War II. Okay, remember phase 2, that is between 1921 to 1951 are referred to as the period of steady population growth. Okay, and during this time, crude birth rate remain high, whereas the death rate declined considerably due to improvement in health and sanitation. Okay, so this phase 2 of population growth in India can be compared with the beginning of the stage 2, okay, of the demographic transition. See here. Here we can compare the phase 2, okay, the phase 2 of India's population growth with the beginning here, with the beginning of the stage 3, with the beginning of this stage 3. Let us divide stage 3 into 2. So this is the beginning of the stage 2, and we can compare the phase 2 of population growth in India with the beginning of the stage 2. Or if we compare it with the 4-stage model as given here, okay, so this is a 4-stage model of demographic transition, then we can compare the phase 2 with the stage 2 here. Here this is the stage 2, okay, here this is the stage 2. Birth rate remain high. See here, the birth rate, purple color shows the birth rate, and see this green one shows the death rate. And here the birth rate remains high, and the death rate declined considerably. Okay, so this is what called early expanding, that the population is increasing. Okay, and the next we have the phase 3. The decades 1951 to 1981 are referred to as the period of population explosion in India, which was caused by a rapid fall in the mortality but high fertility of population in the country. Okay, the periods between 1951 and 1981 are referred to as the period of population explosion in India. It was caused by a rapid fall in the death rate, but a high, okay, birth rate of population in the country. The average annual growth rate was as high as 2.2%. And in this period after the independence, the developmental activities were introduced through a centralized planning process, and the economy started showing up, ensuring improvement of living condition of people at large. So there was a rapid decline in the death rate, but the birth rate remained high. Okay, the decline in death rate was due to improvement in the living conditions of people at large and a good public distribution system. and consequently there was a high natural increase and higher growth rate. Okay, so in this phase 3 there was high natural increase and high growth rate. Besides this, increased international migration bringing in a large number of people from Tibet, Tibetans, then Bangladeshis, Nepalis, and even people from Pakistan, contributed to high growth rate. So here the growth rate was not only caused by this natural growth, but also caused by the international migration. Due to influx of people from Tibet, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Pakistan. And this phase 3 of population growth in India can be compared with the latter part of stage 3. With the latter part of the stage 3. Stage 2. With the latter part of the stage 2 here, this section. So this is the 3-stage model of demographic transition theory, and we can compare the phase 3 of India's population growth with the latter part of the stage 2 here. Here, and if we compare with the 4-stage model, so here we have the 4-stage model, and so here it can be compared with the stage 3. So the phase 3 of India's population growth can be compared with the stage 3 of the 4-stage model of demographic transition theory. See here, this is the stage 3 of the 4-stage model, led expanding. And here during this time, the birth rate is high but declining, and the death rate is declined considerably. And next we have this phase 4. In the post 1981 till present, the growth rate of country's population, though remain high, has started slowing down gradually, as we observe in table number 1.1. A downward train of population, a downward train of crude birth rate is held responsible for such a population growth. So after the 1981, there was a downward train of crude birth rate, and this was in turn affected by an increase in the mean age at marriage, improved quality of life, particularly education of females in the country. So in phase 4, the birth rate has been declining. After 1981, the birth rate in India has been declining due to this increase in mean age at marriage. Due to increase in mean age at marriage. That means girls and boys were married at a later age, that is after 25 years or after 30 years, and that is why the birth rate declined considerably. Then there was improvement in the quality of life, particularly education of females in the country, improved, and that is why there was decline in the birth rate. And as a result, there was overall decline in the growth rate after 1981. And so these are the 4 phases. These are the 4 phases of India's population growth. And you may compare it with the demographic transition model also, as we compared earlier. But you must remember that the growth rate of population of India is, however, still high in the country, in India, and it has been projected by the World Development Report that population in India will touch 1,350 million by 2025. This is because See, as we discussed earlier, if the base population is big, then the number of people added in a year will be big. Since India has got a big population earlier, okay, a small increase, a small percentage increase will also add a large number of people, and that is why the growth of population in India is still very high, even though okay the government has been trying to decline it by implementing this national population policy, then family planning okay programs. Still the birth rate is high. Okay, so any question from your side? Are you clear or not? So let us proceed. If you don't have questions, see, analysis done so far shows the average growth rate, but the country also has a wide variation in growth rate from one area to another, which is discussed below. Okay, so the overall growth rate to India is high, and when we compare okay the growth rate of one state with the other state, then we find a lot of variation. Some states have very high growth rate, okay, and whereas some states okay have low, some states have low this growth rate. Okay, actually that graph represents the three. This graph represents okay the three-stage demographic transition theory. The three stages. This is the three-stage model of demographic transition theory, as we discussed in the book 1. Okay, and see here, this graph shows the birth rate, and this one shows the death rate. So in the stage 1, okay, both the birth rate and the death rate are interlocking. See here, both the birth rate and the death rate are coincided. That means see here, both the birth rate and the death rate high, 35 per thousand, then death rate also 35 per thousand. So this stage 1 can be compared with the phase 1 of the India's population growth history, okay, as we find here. So in the phase 1, what is going on? So in the phase 1, okay, in the phase 1 of India's population growth history, both the birth rate and the death rate were high. Okay, in the phase 1, both the birth rate and the death rate were very high, keeping the rate of increase low. And that is why I'm comparing with the stage 1 of the demographic transition theory. Okay, so in the phase 1 of the India's demographic history, both the birth rate and the death rate remain high, thus cancelling each other, and that is why the growth rate is very very low. Then in the phase 2, okay, in the phase 2, the birth rate remains high and the death rate declined considerably. So we have got a big gap. Okay, we have got a big difference between the birth rate and the death rate, and that is why the population was expanding. And this beginning of the stage 2 can be compared with the phase 2 of India's population growth history, and phase 3 can be compared with the latter part of the stage 2. Or actually we have this 3-stage model or 4-stage model or 5-stage model, and when we compare with the 4-stage model of demographic transition theory as shown here, okay, then we can compare the stage 1 with the phase 1, okay, then phase 2 with the stage 2, then phase 3 with the stage 3. Okay, yes, it will come. Okay, actually this graph based question and this case study based question, source based question, both are compulsory it will be coming not only in the pre-board but also in the final examination. Okay, so you must analyze all the graphs mentioned, found in the textbook, in both the textbook. Okay, now let us analyze the regional variation in population growth. Okay, we have told you that there is a lot of regional variation in the population growth. Some states have high growth rate and some states have low growth rate. And see here, states like Kerala, okay, then Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Puducherry, and Goa. So Puducherry is a union territory. Okay, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, then Goa. So a low rate of growth, not exceeding 25%. Okay, states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Union Territory of Puducherry, and Goa. So as low rate of growth, not exceeding, not more than 20% over the decade. And you must know that Kerala registered the lowest growth rate in India. Okay, not only in this group but in the whole country. So Kerala has a growth rate of only 9.4%. Then a continuous belt of states from west to east in the northwest, then north and the north central part of the country has relatively high rate, okay, high growth rate than the southern states. So here in the previous page you will find a map as shown here. Okay, so here we have this map. Okay, so this map shows the growth of population, okay, spatial variation of growth of population in India. Okay, and so we have learned that okay, states like Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. Okay, see here, see here Kerala. Okay, this Kerala, then this Andhra Pradesh. Okay, then Tamil Nadu also there, I think, Tamil Nadu, and Orissa, Puducherry. Okay, Orissa is here, then Puducherry also there. Okay, Union Territory, and all these that have low growth rate. Okay, see here Kerala, for example, Kerala has less than 10%, and others between 10 to 15, that is less than 20. Okay, and other continuous belt in the state from west to the east in the northwest and the north central part of the country has relatively high growth rate. Okay, as you will find here, continuous belt here. I think here also we have Bihar, this area. Okay, just see the set also. Okay, this set shows a growth rate of this 20 to 25%, and the darkest set shows represent the growth rate of 25. See here, this is 25%, Arunachal Pradesh 25%, Meghalaya 25%. Okay, as mentioned here in the book. So in this belt, Gujarat, Maharashtra, then Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, West Bengal, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. Okay, the growth rate on the average remain 20 to 25%. So in this state, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, West Bengal, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, the growth rate remain high, that is 20 to 25%. Okay, just you will find here this 20 to 25%, and I also have already pointed out. Okay, see here this continuous belt here, okay, and these stats including Bihar. Okay, here in the north also we have Jammu and Kashmir. Then during 2001 to 2011, the growth rate of almost all the states and union territories have registered a lower figure compared to previous decades, namely 1991 to 2000. That means death rate has been declining in almost all the states of India after 2001. Okay, the percentage decadal growth rate of the 6 most populous states, namely Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, and Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh have all fallen during 2011 and 2001. 2001 and 2011 as compared to 1991 to 2001. That means the growth rate of the 6 most populous states of India like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh have declined considerably. Okay, and the fall being the lowest in Andhra Pradesh. So during these decades, the lowest fall being Andhra Pradesh, that is 3.5%. Okay, and the highest fall for Maharashtra, that is 6.7%. Tamil Nadu 3.9%, then Puducherry 7.1%. Okay, these have registered some increase during the 2001 to 2011 over the previous decades. That means the growth rate in almost all the 6 most populous states of India have been declining. Okay, when we compare the 2 decades. The 2 decades are 1991 to 2001, another decade is 2001 to 2011. Okay, so between these 2 decades, the lowest fall is recorded in Andhra Pradesh and the highest decline is recorded in Maharashtra with 6.7%. Okay, and let us continue. Okay, an important aspect of population growth in India is the growth of its adolescents. So who are adolescents? So adolescents are the persons, okay, attaining the age of these 10 to 19 years. Okay, at present, the share of adolescents that is up to the age group of 10 to 19 years is about 20.9% in according to 2011 census. Let me repeat, an important characteristics of population growth in India is the growth of its adolescents, and according to 2011 census, the percentage share of adolescents is about 20.9%. Adolescent means the person in the age group 10 to 19 years. Okay, and among which male adolescents constitute 52.7% and female adolescents constitute 47.3%. Okay, of the total population of India. The adolescent population, though regarded as youthful population having high potentials, but at the same time they are quite vulnerable if not guided and channelized properly. Okay, so we know that adolescents are the resources for the future, are the wealth for the future, but if we don't guide them properly, then if we don't channelize them properly, then they are quite vulnerable. Okay, so there are many challenges for the society. That means adolescents have many problems in the society. What are those challenges faced by the adolescents in the society? Okay, So those challenges faced by the adolescents in the society are this lower age at marriage. Okay, lower age at marriage. That means girls and boys are married at a very early age, say at the age of 13, 14. Okay, say most of the boys and girls in the remote villages, okay, are getting married. That is lower age at marriage. Then illiteracy, particularly female illiteracy. Most of the girls in the villages, okay, were illiterate, not educated. Then school dropouts, then low intake of nutrients, then high rate of maternal mortality of adolescent mothers, okay, high death rate of maternal mortality, that is the death of adolescent mother. Okay, death of adolescent mothers at the time of birth is very high. Then high rate of HIV/AIDS infections, physical and mental disability or retardedness, drug abuse and alcoholism, then juvenile delinquency and the committance of crime. Okay, juvenile delinquency means an antisocial misdeed, okay, in violation of the law by a minor. That means you are committing a crime in the society. Okay, antisocial misdeed in violation of the law by a minor. That means by a minor means these persons having the age less than 18. Okay, so these are some of the challenges or the problems faced by the adolescents in India. In view of these, the government of India has taken certain policies to impart proper education to the adolescent groups so that their talents are better channelized and properly utilized. Okay, the National Youth Policy is one example which has been designed to look into the overall development of our large youth and the adolescent population. Okay, so to improve the well-being of the adolescents and the youth, the government of India, okay, has been initiating this program, National Youth Policy. Okay, and the National Youth Policy NYP 2014 launched in February 2014 proposed a holistic vision for youth of India, which is to empower the youth of the country to achieve their full potential and through them enable India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. Okay, so this is the vision of National Youth Policy 2014. Okay, to empower the youth of the country to achieve their full potential and through them enable India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. So this is the vision of National Youth Policy 2014. Okay, it was launched in February 2014. And according to the National Youth Policy 2014, youth has been defined as the person in the age group 15 to 29. Okay, and the government of India also formulated the National Policy for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in 2015 to provide an umbrella framework to all skilling activities being carried out within the country and to align these to common standards and link skilling with demand centers. Just for the well-being of the adolescents and the youth and to channelize them properly, okay, the government of India formulated this policy, the National Policy for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in the year 2015. So this is for the youths and the adolescents of India. Okay, any question from your side, boys and girls? Today I have taken a long time. Okay, you must remember some these are about the challenges faced by the adolescents. Those challenges are mentioned here. Okay, you may read, and then you have to read about this National Youth Policy 2014. And you have to read this map also very carefully, and it explains the regional variation of population growth in India. But the most important section is here, these four phases. Okay, these four phases of population growth in India is very important for exam. And let us stop here for today. Thank you very much for joining my class.